average police station in Bangalore is supposed to register anywhere between, with the number of crimes that happen in the city, anywhere between, let's say, 500 to 1500 FIRs a year. These are the statistics from police stations in general. Now, I can tell you that the actual number of crimes that are happening for which FIRs should be done are probably 5x or 10x that amount, right? That's the number of crimes that are happening in each police station. And there are hundreds of police stations in Bangalore. So imagine the amount of crime. And then there are certain police stations, I don't want to name them. We did an RTI about this, and we figured out that there are police stations in Bangalore that have only registered 200 FIRs or 150 FIRs in the entire year. That means that place where the police station is must be a paradise, right? It's really just dereliction of duty at that point. Like a lot of police stations do not take FIRs because they want to avoid, having to work. Yes. So I would say that to answer your question directly, the people come to me for all kinds of problems. There are civic issues that they come for, like a road has potholes and the corporation has done nothing about it, or the MLA has done nothing about it. Currently, we don't have corporators, councillors, of course. So the MLAs have done nothing about it. And, maybe streetlights are not working, footpaths are broken. Some place has become a black spot due to garbage dumping. Encroachment has taken place on a footpath. A place has become extremely dirty due to, garbage accumulating there. A certain street is not swept regularly. Garbage is not being collected. Water supply is not regular. Electrical, power cuts are happening, or power is just gone since 2 days and there's no, resolution to it from Bescom side. So all kinds of issues people come to us for. But issues with the police department, issues with getting the crimes registered with the police system, those are obviously, things that are very serious, and we unfortunately see a lot of them. There are so many lies that are told to the people. I want to be very, very, clear about this. The police officers tell so many misleading things to people, and they tell. I'm very angry about this, honestly speaking. The amount of lies that are told to people in the police stations. Things like, oh, this is too low of an amount that you've lost in the scam. So for this, only an online complaint is necessary. An FIR is not supposed to be done. And with that, they turn them away. Okay. So let's say we had a lady now who lost about 18,000 rupees in a scam. And she was told we won't do an FIR because this is too low of an amount. And I'm like, are you serious, man? What are you talking about? There was a person who used to volunteer at our office, and right in front of our office, some random boys came and stole petrol from his bike. That petrol was worth about 200 rupees. We got an FIR done for that at one of these low performing police stations, right? So even for the loss of petrol of 200 rupees or even 50 rupees, you can do an FIR, okay? Because a crime has happened. Somebody has stolen something. There's no threshold defined in our Indian laws that, okay, you cannot register an FIR if the loss that you've had is under this amount of money. No, of course not. It's still a crime. Theft has still happened, So they just make up all these excuses, and there's even worse. They actively manipulate people into not filing their FIRs by straight up lying. They say things like, sir, madam, you're going to, you have a life, you have a good life, you have a career, you're going to go abroad. Now you'll have to come to court if you do an FIR. Then what will happen to your, dreams and ambitions and your career and all these things. And they scare people, they spook people from if I'm the victim of a crime, then why will I have any inconvenience? The lawmakers of this country are not stupid. They have not created laws in such a way that victims are hassled or inconvenienced, okay? So, but these people exploit the fear that people have of the legal system to convince them to not file FIRs. And there's just an endless amount of lies that are told by the police department. But there's another aspect to it as well. When they don't do an FIR, they do something called an acknowledgement or an NCR, which is just the fact that, okay, this person came to the police station, told us this stuff is not enough for it's not so there are two types of offenses: cognizable offense and non-cognizable offense. Cognizable offense is the offense that police can take cognizance of and register a first information report, an FIR. And non-cognizable offenses are those which the police cannot register an FIR for directly and start an investigation right away. So for non-cognizable offenses, you're supposed to then go to court and obtain permission from the magistrate, district magistrate, the judge essentially, to then take that, you're supposed to take that order and then go to the police that, okay, the judge has said that, file this FIR, right? So certain offenses like a regular assault, like two people fight, slapping happens, no injuries happen. So stuff like that is just regular assault. It's a non-cognizable offense. So you'll have to go to court if you really want to press this case forward. Then a cognizable offense, for example, would be if somebody gets into a fight and uses a weapon. Mm-hmm. Or uses something like a weapon. So that would be considered a cognizable offense. So what happens is that they give these types of acknowledgements and let people go, and then they have nothing to do after that. Their whole responsibility ends there as police officers. But if they actually register the FIR, then, the amount of work that they have to do is like a lot. They have to, if I start counting it, it's a lot of stuff. They have to go to the spot to check that spot. It's called spot verification, or Mazar it is called in Bangalore, or Panchnama in the northern or other places. So they have to do that formality. Then they have to collect the witness statements, like whoever witnessed it, they have to collect statements from those people and have them sign them officially. They have to, obviously, initially they have to file the FIR in the system. They have to collect all kinds of forensic evidence, send it to the forensic science laboratory, make sure the chain of custody of the evidence is properly documented, the evidence is transported properly. If the victim has any kind of injury, then there has to be a medical legal case done. So they have to be examined by an accredited, like a proper hospital somewhere, and the medical report has to be entered into the case. They have to go to the spot and try to question other people there and see what they saw, what someone else saw, who can be produced in court to testify that this incident indeed happened. They have to collect all kinds of forensic evidence. They have to collect CCTV footage. They have to collect, if any mobile camera footage is there. Sometimes they have to take the device as well, so to make a stronger case that this footage is not manipulated. It really came from this phone, like that. So there's a lot of formalities there. Then they build a case over a period of time. They prepare something called a charge sheet. So they have to frame the charges against that criminal. And they have to take that person's statement as well. The person who's the alleged criminal in this case, they have to arrest that person. That's a huge task sometimes, because the people go absconding. So they have to literally dedicate time, resources, manpower to finding that person. They have to trace that person, obtain the tracking data and things like that, the CDR data, the phone usage basically is CDR, and then internet usage and stuff like that. Track that person down, arrest that person, bring that person over, produce that person in court, obtain custody, and then cross-question that person, cross-examine that person, figure out if that person can confess or what is their side of the story. And then finally, with everything, they file a charge sheet in court. By the way, when you file an FIR, it's not your case, it's the police's case. Yeah. So the police has to put in all the effort to prove it. As opposed to when you do a civil case. Let's say you have a property dispute with me and you file a case against me in court. So then it's between you and me. So you have to prove that I did something wrong. Okay. And then you're going to have to do all the investigation, come up with a bunch of facts to establish in court that I was in the wrong. Here, the police is the one that has to do that, right? A lot of people are under the misconception that they have to hire a lawyer to represent themselves in police cases. It's not the truth unless you're the one being accused of the crime. So all this stuff happens. Then they file it in court. And then the police has to really work with the public prosecutor, the government lawyer, to prove this case in court and to hopefully over a period of time get the other person, convicted of the crime that they're being accused of. That's the police's role to play in this whole thing. So imagine all that versus just not doing anything. Okay. So clearly it's really ridiculously imbalanced in this way. And the problem is that the police force in our country, and I can speak to how it is in Bangalore for sure, is very understaffed, very underpaid, and very underappreciated. Okay. So police, I have to say this. I cannot give an unbalanced opinion, right? I have to be objective about this. Our police officers just simply do not get paid enough. Like a person like you and me, a person not exactly like us, like somebody coming from our type of background. Why would a person like this opt to go to the police force? The job simply does not pay enough to even sustain a family in a middle class environment. Okay. Even if you're at a head constable level or sub inspector level, you simply don't get paid enough in terms of your salary, to be able to live a decent, comfortable life, especially considering the kind of job you do, where there's so much risk and so much, danger from all kinds of antisocial and criminal elements that you deal with. So first thing is that. So like more qualified people or people who would otherwise go to a different kind of job do not end up in the police force. There are some really good people in the police as well who have ended up there, and I have nothing but appreciation for those people. But we could have a better talent pool coming into the police force if the salaries were higher. So the government simply doesn't pay these guys.
How much do they get paid now? What's the starting salary?
I can get you the figures, but like it's not great, man. Like constables, I don't think it's more than 20-25K or something like that.
Tough for a family to survive.
Oh yeah, like how you're going to get a family? And most of these guys are from villages and small towns. They have to send money back home. They have to maintain a lot of people, in their extended families as well. One person becomes a police officer. It's like, okay, now, we can expect our whole family to, get uplifted. So where do you think corruption comes from, right? People don't get paid enough, then they resort to these practices in order to make do for themselves. Now, not all corruption is like benevolent like this, like for benevolent reasons, but it has its roots in these kinds of things. So they don't get paid enough. And there's not enough of them. Okay, so there's a very limited number of people.
And I'm assuming many people don't want to be cops because they're not getting paid enough in the first place.
Absolutely, that's the whole point. Like most of our talented people prefer to do, or talented or dedicated or committed or very sorted out people, a lot of them don't want to do police jobs. Like some people are passionate about it, or some people think of it as a prestigious thing or whatever. Like for whatever reason, they go and join the police force anyway. But most people don't. Most people don't even consider it as a career option, unless you're an IPS or something, right? At that level, of course, the perks, the salary, all that stuff is pretty good. So understaffed, underpaid, definitely underappreciated. So the police is not allowed to have a union, for example. Police cannot go on strike, of course. So the government has made it illegal for the police to have unions. Police, army, these people can't have unions. So they don't have organizations advocating for benefits for them. Okay, so it's quite a wild situation. These guys overwork so much. Like overworking for a police officer is just a regular thing. They're Narayan Murthy's dream people, because they literally work 12-14 hours every day, or at least they're on duty 12-14 hours every day. So, under those circumstances, if you think from their perspective, even like how can you judge them for not wanting to do FIS, man? Like it's a systemic issue, and that's where it's all failing, because people's FIRs should be registered.